Vishwam Sachiputram Atrasurupam Rupam Nasagajamui Purim Madhurim Kostuari Radha Kundam Givaram Aradhika Madhavasanam Rato Yasya Patipadvaya First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadhya Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma, Nitya Pravishta Om Vishwapad, Ashtotarasta Sri Rupanura Acharya Varya, Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta, Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev and to Srila Prabhupada and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to Maharaj Ananya Jagandipadigan and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Panchakalpatarubhascha, Kripa Sindhubhyavacha, Uditanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavyo.
Shri Gurudeva ki
Jai. Hari Bol. By the causeless mercy of Sri Guru and Gauranga, today we are observing the most auspicious festival of Sri Guru Purnima, the appearance day of Srila Vyasadeva. his name is Sri Krishna Dvaipayana Veda Vyas. Why? First, see Krishna. He has a very dark, beautiful complexion. Not only that, but in Bhagavad Gita, see Krishna has said, Muninam apyaham vasaha. Muninam apyaham vyasaha. Out of all the rishis, I am Vyas. So, generally, see Krishna will empower a jiva to divide the Vedas. So, generally, Vyas is a Shaktivesh avatar, but not our Vyas. He is not like that. You see, in the day of Lord Brahma, there are 1,000 cycles of ages, and they are divided into 14 periods of manus. Each manu reigns for 71 cycle of ages. Now we are in the 7th manu, Vaivasvata manu, and 28 cycles have taken place. So until today, in this period of manu, there have been 28 Vyasas, dividers of the Vedas. 28. The 24th one was Valmiki, then Parashara, then Shaktri, then what is his name? Karna. Then our own Vyasadev. And in the next cycle of ages, the next Vyasadev will be Ashwatthama, the son of Dronacharya. So Vyas is the post which is changing in each cycle of ages. But Krishna has said, Muni namapyaham vyasa in Bhagavad Gita. Among the Munis I am Vyas. So he empowers someone in each age to be Vyas. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, there, see Krishna has said, Dvaipayanosmi Vyasanam. Out of all the Vyasas, I am Dvaipayana. So, our Vyasadev is actually directly Sakshat Narayan, directly Lord Narayan. He is not a Shaktivesh avatar. In Mahabharata and other Shastras, there is a description of one Muni, Pantaratama. And it is said that he becomes Vyas. So this is why some people think that our Vyas is a Shaktivesh avatar and empowered Jiva. But our acharyas have said that you should consider it in this way, that the Supreme Lord expanded himself as that Rishi and did pastimes as if he were a Jiva, and then he entered into the eternal Narayan form of Vyasadev when he attained his perfection. So Vyasadev in Srimad Bhagavatam is said Sakshat Narayan, directly Lord Narayan. So we see also in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna has said, Sarvasya chaham ridisani visto mataha smriti jnanam aponam cha Vedaishta sarva ahameva vedyo Vedanta krit veda videva chaham Vedanta krit. I have written the Vedanta. So our Vyasadev is the form of Bhagavan. So that's the first part of his name, Sri Krishna. Because he is an incarnation of Krishna and because he has a dark complexion, his name is Sri Krishna. Now we come to the second part of his name, Dvaipayana. There was one Apsara. Her name was Adrika. And Apsaras like to come down to earth and frolic in the water in beautiful places. So she liked to come and frolic in the water of the Jamuna. One day, one sage came to take bath in Jamuna, and he went in Jamuna and he was meditating, and this Apsara was very playful. So, just for fun, she swam under the water and grabbed him by the feet and pulled him. And this disturbed his meditation. So he gave a curse to her. Oh, you were swimming underwater, become a fish. So then, she became a fish. And she was living in the Jamuna for many years. So after a long time, perhaps you know, there was a king. And his name was Shantanu. And he had a very beautiful new bride named Girika. So she was very young and they were just married and they had not consummated the marriage yet. Because they should consummate the marriage at the time when the lady is fertile, because there should be conception. So when it came to the day of the consummating the marriage, then, sorry, it wasn't Santanu Maharaj, excuse me, Uparichar Vasu, his name was Uparichar Vasu. Santanu will come later. Uparichar Vasu. So Uparichar Vasu was married to Girika and he wanted to consummate that marriage, but when the time came, he was very, very eager. He had been looking forward to it so much. But then the Pitris, the ancestors from Pitrilok, they appeared to him and they said, you should go to the forest and hunt and kill a deer and offer it to us and make a Shraddha ceremony. Shraddha ceremony. So then, just as Uparichar Vasu, the magical day came that he'd been waiting for, but now he had to leave his wife behind and go hunting in the forest. So his wife was very disappointed. So when he was in the forest, it was spring season, and all the udipana of the amorous mood, all the things that inspire romantic mood were there in the forest. And Charavasu, he was thinking of his wife with so much lust. And so when he was resting, then he had a nocturnal emission. That means he passed his seed. And then he said, oh no, this is terrible. I was supposed to conceive with this seed and now it's being spilt. So he took a leaf he was underneath an ashok tree, he took a leaf from that and he wrapped up his seed in the leaf. And one eagle was in that ashok tree and he called that eagle. He said, please, deliver this to my wife. So he gave the parcel to the eagle. So you may all be thinking that this is very extraordinary pastime, and no doubt you're all very entertained. But it shows in Vedic culture. There is just a very simple basic understanding of life, that all things have a purpose. So sex is for procreation. And this is the evil of the Kali Yuga, that all things become separated from their purpose. The purpose of something is called artha. Its purpose. So a human being has purushartha. There are 4 purposes. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But really these are related to the body. So the supreme purpose of life, which is really related to the soul, is Panchama Purushartha, Krishna prema. So when something is utilized according to its purpose, then this is perfect. And any transgression of the purpose of an object is evil. That is very, very much inauspicious and impious. So when a human being doesn't follow Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, or from the Vyavaharic, from the worldly perspective, then it's very impious. But from the transcendental perspective, the purpose for which we are born is one thing. What is that? To attain Krishna prema. So it is very, very inauspicious when object is separated from its purpose. So don't be separated from your purpose. Why have you been born? Why do you exist? Why? Krishna pray. Yes. Not for anything else. So anyway, the king Upachari Vasu, according to the Vyavaharik, the worldly standards, he was thinking, the purpose of my seed is for the procreation. And so this is very wrong. So he wrapped it in the ashok leaf. And then he gave it to the eagle. And the eagle set off to deliver it to his queen. But on the way, there was another eagle, and he thought, he must have some very delicious food there. So if one eagle has some food, usually the other eagles will attack it and fight with him to get it. So then this other eagle attacked him, and the two eagles, they were fighting in the sky. And in the struggle, then the first eagle, he dropped the parcel. And the parcel came open, and it fell into the water. And then that fish, who was before the Apsara Atrika, she was swimming and swallowed. So then, about 9 months later, there was a fisherman, and he caught that fish. And when he got the fish home, he was preparing and cut open the fish, and there were two human babies inside. One boy and one girl. So then the fisherman was, what do I do? What do I do? So then he went to the king, Upachari Vasu, and he said, look, I found this fish and I cut open, and there were two human children inside. So then Uparichara Vasu, he adopted the boy. And the boy later became a very famous king named Matsya Maharaj. Yes, you may have heard of the famous place Matsya Desh. So Matsya Maharaj, that boy grew up and became the great king Matsya Maharaj. And the girl, that fisherman gave to the king of his tribe, the Dasa tribe. So the king's name is Dasaraj, king of the Das. So now Dasaraj adopted this daughter, and she was very, very beautiful and very, very pious and had wonderful qualities. So he gave her the name Satyavati. Satyavati, the embodiment of veracity, truthfulness. But she also had the fragrance, let us say, or the odor of a fish. So she was also known as Matsya Gandha, because she emanated a very strong fishy odor. So Matsya Gandha or Satyavati, she grew to be a very beautiful young woman with one drawback. And she used to assist her father by rowing the boat and taking passengers across the Jamuna. So one day, the great sage, Parasara Muni, his ashram is on the other side of the Jamuna from Mathura. So he wanted to cross to go to his ashram. There is the ashram of Atri Rishi, Parasara Rishi, Durvasa Rishi. Many great sages live in the forest of Lohavan on the other side of the Jamuna from Mathura. So Parasara Rishi got into the boat with Satyavati, and as they were crossing the river, then Parasara Rishi was transcendently inspired that he wanted to conceive a child with her. So when he expressed his desire, then she was somewhat reluctant for a number of reasons. She said that I am unmarried, so then if I'll have a child out of wedlock, then later when I want to get married, it will be impossible. It will be completely impossible. It will be a matter of great embarrassment for me. So Parasara Rishi said, I am a powerful Rishi. I will bless you with Virgo intacta. That afterwards, your virginity will be intact. And then she said, oh, but we are in a boat crossing the river. And if someone from the side will see, it will be very scandalous. So then, Parasara Rishi, by his mystic power, created a fog, and there was a fog all over. Have you seen when there's fog on the Jamuna? You can't see anything. So a very thick fog came everywhere all over the Jamuna, so that no one on the banks would be able to see anything. And she said, also, this is not pleasant for you, because I smell like a fish. So then, Parasara Rishi gave a blessing to her. You should not smell like a fish, you should smell like kasturi. So then, her fragrance was transformed, and she was fragrant like kasturi musk. Very beautiful and attractive fragrance. And this fragrance spread for 8 miles in all directions. So after that, she was not called Matsya Gandha, but she was known as Kasturi Gandha or Yojana Gandha. Yojana means the distance of 8 miles. So then, in the middle of Jamuna, you may have noticed that the level of the water is going up and down. So sometimes islands appear there. So especially just there, in between Mathura and Lohavani in the Jamuna every year, you see an island. When we go on Brajmata Parikrama, and we go up to the top of the Kansatila, the fort of Kamsa Maharaj, then from there you can look and you can see the island. So they came to that island, and there she conceived a child. So this was not done in a gross way, but in a very mystical way, because immediately she gave birth there and then, immediately. And there and then the child also grew up. And that child was Sri Vyasadeva. So then Parasara Muni, he took his son Vyas to his ashram in Lohavani. And he studied from his father there. So we're discussing the name of Vyasadeva. Sri Krishna Dvaipayana. His name is Dvaipayana because he was born on a dweep, an island in the Jamuna. So Sri Krishna Dvaipayana, now Veda Vyas. In ancient times, there was a rishi. His name was Gautam Rishi. And he was doing very hard austerities. After some time, Lord Brahma was very pleased with him and came to him and gave him some seeds. And these seeds would grow again and produce seeds and grow again. They were eternal. So, even without water, they would grow by themselves. So he took those seeds and he went to his ashram. And he stayed there with his disciples and he planted the seeds and the food was growing. After some time, a famine came. So there were no seeds anywhere, there was no food growing. The only place in the world where food was available was in the ashram of Gautam Rishi, because he had these mystical seeds that were given by Lord Brahma. So at that time, a group of rishis came to the ashram of Gautam Rishi and said, please, the famine is going on, allow us to stay with you. Gautam Rishi, I am blessed to have the association of the rishis, be my guests. Because a guest is supposed to be served like the Supreme Lord, Atiti Narayan. So then, they were staying with him, and they remained with Gautam Rishi for the duration of the famine. When the famine was over, it began to rain again, food was growing again. So then they asked permission. Oh, Gautam Rishi, please give us permission to leave. Gautam Rishi, understanding the etiquettes of hospitality, said, oh, just stay for a few more days. This is the etiquette, you know. If you're feeding someone and they're finished, then you come and say, they say, no. You say, no, just have a bit more. This is hospitality, just a little bit more. This is very light. So, just stay a little bit longer. Like so, every time he has to leave, go to Rishi, no, please, you're my guest, just stay a little bit longer. So they stayed, and they were all discussing with each other. We're never going to get out of here. We should make a plan to get out. So they made a plan. By their mystic powers, they manifested a mystical cow. So one day, Gautam Rishi came to his ashram and he saw that this cow was there. And he folded his hands and gave pranam. Oh, Gomata. And he began to worship the cow and took water and sprinkled the water on the cow. And when he sprinkled the water on the cow, it died. So then the cow died and all the rishis came here and said, "What? You have killed the cow. We can't stay here any longer. We could never stay in the place with the person who has killed the cow." So then Gautam Rishi was very apologetic. He said, how can I atone for this killing of a cow? The Rishi said the only way you can atone and bring this cow back to life is by sprinkling water of the Ganga, water of the Ganges. So the problem was that this is before the time of Bhagirath Maharaj. So the Ganges was in heaven, but there was no Ganges on earth. There was no Ganges on earth. So how will he get the Ganga? So then Gautam Rishi, he began to do puja to Lord Shiva. So he was worshipping Lord Shiva, and when Lord Shiva was satisfied, he appeared to him and said, "I'll give you a benediction, what do you want?" Gautam Rishi said, "Give me one of your jata, one of your matted locks." So then Lord Shiva and gave him one jata, one matted lock. Why? Because the Ganges is kept on the head of Lord Shiva. So there were some drops of the Ganges water in this lock, and he took the lock and he sprinkled it onto the cow. And when he sprinkled the Ganga water there, then that cow just disappeared. So then he was meditating, and in his meditation he realized this was not a real cow. This was a trick of those sages who were trying to run away. So then he gave them a curse. And he cursed them. "Oh, you rishis, you'll lose your power of memory. And then you won't be able to remember the Vedic mantras, you won't be able to perform the sacrifices." And so we see that in the cycles of ages, the sages, they know the mantras of the Vedas in Satyayug. They know the mantras of the Vedas in Treta Yuga. But in Dwapara Yuga, by the end, as it gets towards the end of Dwapara Yuga, they start to forget. It's a very big problem. So then, when the rishis were forgetting the mantras, then Lord Brahma and Shiva and the demigods, they were very concerned. Especially the demigods, they want to have their offerings in the mantras, so they're all concerned. And they prayed to Lord Narayan, "Oh Lord Narayan, please do something." And he said, "Don't worry, I myself will appear in this world as a rishi, and I will preserve all the Vedic mantras by compiling them, dividing them, and having them all written down by Ganesh." So, at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, the Supreme Lord appeared in this world as Srila Vyasadeva, because it was absolutely necessary that all the Vedic mantras which the rishis were starting to forget should be preserved. So in the beginning there was only one Veda, and Srila Krishna Dvaipayan, he divided the one Veda into 4 sections: Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. So if there's a circle, a line that touches both sides of the circle, passing through the middle, what we call in English the diameter, but in Sanskrit the diameter is called Vyas. So that which divides the circle is called Vyas. So because he has divided the Vedas, so therefore his name is, we're explaining his names one by one, Krishna, Dvaipayana, Veda, Vyas. The diameter touches both sides of the circle and also the middle. So the center of all existence is Sri Krishna. And this existence has the eternal spiritual world and the temporary material world. The material energy is eternal, but it's manifest and unmanifest again and again, whereas the spiritual is manifest eternally. So, that person who touches both worlds, who sees this material world and also in his trance sees the spiritual world, he's absorbed in the center point. That means the center of all existence is Krishna. He is, therefore, metaphorically speaking, he's like a diameter. His name is Vyas. So, see Krishna, Dvaipayana, Veda, Vyas. Now, traditionally, on the appearance day of Vyas, the disciples, they worship their Guru and all their Guru Parampara, and all the acharyas of the various sampradayas, and all the great personalities who are responsible for manifesting transcendental knowledge in this world, such as Shukadeva Goswami, Vyasadeva and his main disciples. So all those personalities we have just worshipped in this Vyasa Puja ceremony, just earlier. The seat of Vyasadeva is called Vyasasana, the seat of Vyas. So the pure Vaishnavas, they may sit upon the seat of Vyas. Why? Because they represent the realization of Vyasadeva. Shabda Brahmani Nishnato Na Nishnayet Pareyadi Sramo Tasya Sramo Palo Hyadeno Eva Rakshataha. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Shabda Brahmani Nishnato, a person may be very learned in Shabda Brahma, that means the scriptures. He may have memorized all of the scriptures. But na nishnayat pareyadi, if the person is not nishnat, that means bathed in, absorbed in, immersed. Nishnat is immersed in. What? Pare. Realization of the Supreme Truth. Then, all of his knowledge of the Vedas, theoretical knowledge, is useless. Sramastasya, it was just hard work. His study of the Vedas was hard work, srama phalo, and the only fruit of his hard work is the hard work that he did. But there's no real benefit for that person. Hyadenam eva rakshataha. It is exactly like if you have a cow who is barren, produces no calf and produces no milk. Then you are serving, but no result. So, in the same way, one who is studying the Shastra, but he may be very learned, but he does not have realization of the Shastra. All of his hard work was useless. It was like serving a barren cow. No result will come. So, it is essential that just as Srila Vyasadeva has realized the pastimes of Sri Krishna and manifested Srimad Bhagavatam, that those who will sit on the Vyasasana, the seat of Vyas, they should represent Vyasadeva by repeating his words with realization. Tasmin mahan mukarita madubich charitre piyusha shesha sarita parita shravanti ta ye pibantanu avitrishon pagada kanais tanas prashanta sanatrid by ashoka moha. Madhubich Charitra means the pastimes of the Madhubich Sri Krishna. Mukarita, that those pastimes are transformed and become in the form of words. Tasmin Mahan Mukarita Madhubit Charitra. And then those pastimes in the form of transcendental sound emanate from the lips of Mahat, great devotee. And they're flowing continuously in all directions like rivers. So the example of rivers is given here because, you know why rivers are flowing? Because the Himalayas are very high and there's snow on the top of the Himalayas. And then when the snow melts, then it runs down and it's flowing like this. So in the same way, it's understood that the pure devotee's heart is very high, very elevated, experiencing the spiritual world. And when the disciple is very humbly, with great faithfulness and with great loyalty, dedicating himself to the service of that pure Vaishnava, then that Vaishnava's heart melts. So then when it melts, then the nectar of the heart of that Vaishnava, which is very hot, starts to run down and it comes out like a river from his mouth in the form of Harikatha. So, taye pibanta vitrishona pagada kanais. If the disciple will listen to that flow of Harikatha with ears which are avitrisha, with intense thirst, with a never-ending thirst. Oh, Gurudev, I want to hear more and more and more. He never becomes tired of hearing. So then that person who is hearing with that intensely, unquenchably thirsty ears, for that person, then Tannas Prashant Asamatrit Vayashoka Moha, he will never be touched by hunger, by thirst, by fear, by illusion, or lamentation. How can you never be touched by these things? That means that simply by hearing, the entire bodily conception is washed away and the soul becomes Mukta Mahapurush, liberated by the hearing process. So the seat of Vyas is called Vyasasan. Who is sitting on the seat of Vyas should be qualified like Vyas, so that the Harikatha will flow and those who will hear, they will become pure devotees, develop Krishna Prema. So, because Sri Guru is the representative of Vyasadeva, on the appearance day of Vyasadeva, all disciples are worshipping their Guru. So it's also called Guru Purnima, Purnima, the full moon day on which our Gurudev is worshipped. Now, let's come to the life of Vyasadeva. One day, Srila Vyasadeva, he rose early in the morning and he took bath in the Saraswati river, very high in the Himalayas. Has anyone been there to Badrik Ashram? Yes. The cave of Vyasadeva is there. So just above, if you go past Badrinath a little further up, then you will come to the Shamyaprash Ashram. A very beautiful place where the three gunas are in equilibrium. So it's called Samyaprash, the place where three gunas are in equilibrium. Vyasadeva was there. He took bath in the Saraswati and then he sat in meditation. He was pondering. I have, on the order of my Gurudev, Narada Rishi, divided the one Veda into four. I have presented the Upanishads, and the essence of the Upanishads I have given in Vedanta Sutra. But this subject matter is extremely difficult for common people to understand. So I have given 18 Puranas, 18 main Mahapuranas, and altogether 59 Puranas. but 18 main ones. To make the message of the Vedas understandable for the general people. But still many persons were unqualified. So for them, I manifested the Mahabharata. 100,000 verses full of politics and intrigue and affairs and all kinds of things that people are interested in. There's a lot of Gramya Katha actually. It's a mundane talk there in Mahabharata. But attracting all the people by the mundane talk, I have attracted them, and within that I have given Bhagavad Gita to benefit all the people. But even though I have done all of these things, I am not feeling satisfied. Why am I not feeling satisfied? So then, Vyasadeva, just as he was considering, why am I not feeling satisfied? There was a sound in the sky. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai 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 Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. And Srila Vyasadeva saw, oh, my Gurudev has come, flying in the sky, playing his veena, singing the names of Radharama. Sri Narad Muni arrived there, and Srila Vyasadeva gave Dandavat Pranam. Then he offered an asan, a seat, and did puja to his Gurudev, offered him some water to drink, and then he sat with folded hands in front of his Gurudev, awaiting instruction. Narad Rishi smiled. He said, can a person be satisfied by considering the physical, material body and mind to be the goal of life? Very deep question. Vyasadeva said to his Gurudev, Tvam pariyatam arka ivati lokim antastaro vayo ivatma shakshi paravare brahmani dharmato bratai snatasame nyunam alam bichakswa. O Gurudev, Tvam pariyatam arka ivati lokim, just like you are, just like the sun. You can travel all over the universe and see everything outwardly, just like the sun. And tastaro vayo ivatma shakshi. And you can also see everything internally, like prana vayu, the prana which is moving inside everyone. In fact, atma shakshi, you are none different from atma shakshi, paramatma. Jivesh rakshat nahi tati guru chaita rupe, shiksha guru hoy krishna mahanta swarupe. The conditioned soul cannot perceive the paramatma. So paramatma has come outside to speak to us in the form of Gurudev. So he glorified Narad Rishi in this way. Then he said, Paravare Brahmani Dharmato Vratai. I was absorbed in doing so many vratas and writing about Brahman. But Tasame Nyunam Alam Vichakswa. I have some nyuna. Nyun means lacking. There's something lacking in me. I'm feeling deficient. I'm feeling dissatisfied. Alam Vichakswa. Will you kindly describe to me what is the cause of my dissatisfaction? So then, Narad Rishi, he said, Bhavata mudita prayam yasho bhagavato malam yene vaso na tusyeta manye tad darshanam kilam. Very wonderful. He said, Bhavata mudita prayam, you have hardly described the beautiful pastimes of Krishna. You have described all about Karma Kanda in the Vedas, Jnana Kanda in the Vedas. You have described about Brahman, Nirvishesh Brahman, and described Mukti liberation. You have described Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, the practice of Dharma, religious principles. Artha, how to attain the economic prosperity. Kam, how to fulfill your desires. And Moksha, how to be liberated from this world. Something you have told about Bhakti, something, little bit, in Bhagavad Gita and other places. But you have not elaborately described the beautiful sweet pastimes of Sri Krishna in Vrindavan. Therefore, Yeneva aso natusyeta, you have not satisfied Krishna. And because you have not satisfied Krishna, therefore, manye tad darshanam kilam. Narad Rishi said, I consider that your darshan, your vision, or your philosophy, Vedanta Sutra, is kilam, insufficient. But my darshan, what is that? Pancharatra. Vyasadeva has compiled Vedanta Sutra. But Narad has compiled Narad Pancharatra. He has revealed the Narad Pancharatra. It is only about bhakti. The actual practical process of how to worship the Supreme Lord. And through mantras. The process of archana and so on. Directly the worship of the Supreme Lord. Whereas Vyasadeva had gone the philosophical route. Yeah? If you read Bhagavad Gita at the end, you still don't know how to offer arti. Right? Right? Many people read Bhagavad Gita, but they don't know, okay, what do I offer first? The incense or the handkerchief or what? But and how many times? Right? So you see, so Vyasadeva had given many philosophical things, but practically, how do you please and serve the Supreme Lord? Krishna himself has a promise to Narad, I will reveal myself to anyone who worships me by Sodasa Upachar, offering the 16 articles. So if someone will worship Krishna, offering the 16 articles according to the principles of Archana in the Narad Pancharatra, Krishna will manifest his beauty to that person. He is promised. And that's why it is necessary to receive Diksha from a bona fide Guru and then learn how to do Archana, and gradually, and along with the chanting Harinam, actually Harinam reveals everything. But because the mind of the living entities is very unsteady, and they make many offenses to the holy name, so it's necessary for them to become regulated in their life. So the worship of the deity regulates your life. You have to wake up at a particular time, take bath, put on tilak, go to the deity's room, chant certain mantras. So the process of archana regulates the life to remove the two main problems, which are stopping the living entity realizing the power of the holy name. That is Kadarya Shil, impious behavior, and Vikshipta Chitta, restless mind. So, Narad Muni told to Vyasadeva, Manye Tad Darshanam Kilam. I consider your philosophy to be, it's lacking. Now later Narad Rishi will explain about his path and this practice of bhakti. But first, he's criticizing Vyasa. Because this is the prerogative of Guru. He's nindadi shunya. He has no desire to criticize anyone. But out of mercy, he may tell the disciple, you have a fault. Even if the disciple doesn't have a fault, he can tell it. You have this fault. Because the false accusation is it's impossible for the person's ego to tolerate. So Sri Guru may also make a false accusation to test, is this the false ego gone or not yet? Like rice in the pot. After cooking, you take it out and squeeze it out, still hard. So sometimes the Guru may test the disciple. No. Is he right yet? No. So, Narad, there's really no fault in Vyas, because this is a Leela. But Narad Muni is pointing out what he has done wrong. And Srila Vyasadeva is so humble that in his magnum opus, in his greatest and final contribution to Vedic literature, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first thing Srila Vyasadeva has put there is all his own faults. Can you do it? If you will write a book. So then the first chapter you write all the wrong things you've done in your life. Yeah. So just see Srila Vyasadeva's great humility. So Narad Muni began to say to Vyasadeva, Jugupsitam dharma kritanushashata swabhava raktasya maham vyatikramaha yad vyakto dharma ititarastito na manyate tasya nivaranam janaha. Oh Vyas, what you have written, Jugupsitam dharma, it is condemned. Condemned. Why did you write all about Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda? It is condemned. Swabhava Raktasya Mahan Vyatikrama. You have made a Mahan Vyatikrama, a great transgression. Why? Swabhava Raktasya, because the common tea people, they're very attached to their own conditioning, their own acquired nature that they have. The conditioning of their body and mind. They're very attached to that. So, yadvakto dharma iditarastato. If you tell someone, oh, here are the Vedas, and in the Vedas you can do this sacrifice, and by this you can get money, you can get children, you can go to heaven, you can enjoy in so many different ways. So then persons, being very attached to their desires, they will follow this. And then, if another person, a real sadhu will come and say, stop all this karma kanda nonsense. You are a soul, sarva dharman prityaja, ma'amekam sharanam vraja. Surrender to Krishna. Then, this person who's attached to his own conditioning, he will say, no, it's written here in the Vedas, Vyasadeva said so. I'm following this. So if someone will come and say, leave those things, then those persons attached to their own conditioning, they won't respect them. They won't respect their opinion, and they'll quote you, Vyasadeva. So Mahan Vyatikramaha, you have made a great transgression. Jugupsitam, this is condemned. Why did you speak about other things other than Krishna? You should have spoken only about Krishna. Why? Na yad vachas chitram padam hare yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita gaichit tadvayasam tirtam ushanti manasa na yatta hangsa niramantra shikshaya. Those words that don't describe the glories of the Supreme Lord. Na yad padam hare yasho jagat pavitram. Those words that describe the glories of Krishna purify the entire universe. The words that glorify it.
Krishna, purify the entire universe. But the words that don't describe Krishna, then Tadvaya Samtirtham, that is like a pilgrimage place for crows. You see, if there's a beautiful, clean, crystal clear, pristine lake, you see that swans go and swim on that lake. The crows don't go there. But if there's a filthy place where everyone throws the garbage, people spit, vomit, then all the crows think, Mahotsav ki jai. And all the black crows that go to the filthy place, and they're very, very happy that they take pleasure there. So that is called Tadvaya Samtirtha, the holy place and festival for crows. So what is the crow festival? Any words not about Krishna. All mundane talk. All talk about anything except for pure bhakti, pure Krishna and pure devotees. All other words, they are filth, disgusting. And persons who are attracted to them, they are like black crows. But the devotees, they are hangsas, they are like swans. And they only go to the nectar of Harikatha. So try to be like a swan, don't be like a crow. I see many times people come, they listen to very sweet Harikatha. And as soon as the kirtan is over, they go outside and then jump in the trash with the crows. By talking about mundane things with others. Polluting themselves and polluting others. You can only do this so many times before Maya will smash you and take you away from the path of bhakti. It's a great offense. So, Narad Rishi said to Vyasadeva, you have written all this stuff about karma kanda and everything. This is for crows. Tadvad visago janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhagyavatapi namanyan tasya yashankitani yat srimanti gayanti krinanti sadavaha. So then Naradi said, but the words which describe the glories of Krishna are a completely different phenomena. What do? Janataga viplavo. They make a revolution in the lives of the impious persons. Viplav means capsize, like a boat, capsize. That means sinful persons, they were wandering in their sinful life. But by the mercy of a Vaishnava, they heard some Harikatha. And when they heard this Harikatha, their life was turned upside down. Completely. They give up all their sinful activities. They give up all their worldly desires and ambitions. And now their heart is pointing towards Goloka Vrindavan. They're eager to go there. So this is a revolution. So Narad Muni told Vyasadeva, don't write about other things, only about Krishna. The other things are a crow festival. And the pastimes of Krishna can even just totally make a revolution in the life of sinful people and turn them into pure devotees. So the sadhus, Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grananti, Sadhava. If there's a speaker present, they come and listen, Shrinvanti, Gayanti. And if there's no speaker present, then they themselves, they sing. Grananti, Sadhava. And they accept into their heart the nectar of Harikatha. So then, see, Narad Muni told Vyasadeva, Chaitanyata kinchana yadvivakshata pritag drishas tatkrita rupa karma bihi na kaichit kwapi chadustitamati labitavata hatam naurivaspadam. Narad said, whatever you describe, which is pratakdarsha, coming from a conception that there's something different from Krishna. If a person has pratakdarsha, they don't see Krishna everywhere, then the words that come from them just makes dushtitamati. before we spoke about Stita Pragya, how the consciousness should be fixed. But when there's the vibration of words, which are expressing a conception that there is any reality outside of Sri Krishna, then those words, they simply make dushtitamati, make the consciousness oscillate, unstable mind, mood swings. And when that happens, then what? Then na kaichit kapi chadustitamati, you cannot enter into samadhi. You cannot even do dharana. You cannot concentrate dharana. You cannot dhyan meditation. You cannot do dhruva anusmriti, continuous meditation, and reach the stage of samadhi, wherein one enters into the pastimes of Krishna. But rather that person, labeta vataha tanari vaspadam, he's just like a boat on the water, with no steering mechanism, just blown here and there. A boat just blown by the wind in any direction. You can imagine, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you have a boat. So you need to get to land. So you have to go in a particular direction. But the wind is just blowing all over the place. You can never reach your destination. So in the same way, as long as your mind is dushtitamati, is oscillating and disturbed, as long as there is the inability to concentrate, then you cannot make progress to the destination of life. To Goloka Vrindavan, you will just be floating here and there on the waves, on the wind of Prajalpa. Mundane talk is like the wind, and just blowing you here and there in the material world. No progress, no attainment of the destination of life. So in this way, Narada Rishi very powerfully criticized everything except for Kirtan and Harikatha. Yes, yes. Very important. So then Narada Rishi, he begins to specifically delineate the glory of bhakti and the indignity of everything which isn't bhakti, essentially. So what are those things? Karma, jnana and yoga. So in relationship to karma, Narada Rishi said, Chaktva swadharmam charnam bhujam hare bhajan paktota patetyato yadi yatra kvava bhadram abhudamushikim kovat apto bhajatam swadharmataha. Hey Vyasadev, have you written that if a person leaves all karma, all responsibilities, whatever responsibility a person thinks he has, to his family, to society, his nation, to anything, if a person chakva sudharmam charnam, and he leaves that to serve Krishna's lotus feet, bhajan paktota patetyato yadi, but as he was progressing in bhakti, he had problems. And he fell down. So, you see, if you're doing karma and you do it wrong, you get no result. But Narada Rishi says the person leaves all karma, does bhakti, he doesn't do it very well and he falls down. But there's no loss for him. In the end, he will become successful one day. But on the other hand, if a person doesn't leave his karma and he does it all perfectly, absolutely perfectly, what benefit does he get? Nothing. Because if you do your karma perfectly, you go to heaven, which is like a brothel. You can enjoy with Menika Urvashi and the Apsaras there until your good karma runs out, and then you're back where you started. And there's a chance you'll go down then to hell by committing sins later. You see? So, by doing karmas, there's no benefit whatsoever. So Narada Rishi is explaining this very clearly to Vyasadeva. You described about karma. If you do it perfectly, there's no results. And if you leave it and do bhakti, and your bhakti is a complete disaster, but still there's no loss. And in the end, you'll be successful. How he's glorifying bhakti, it's incredible. Because people think, oh, how can I give up this responsibility? How can I give up that responsibility? No, all inauspiciousness. Our only responsibility, our artha, is prema purushartha. How to attain love for Krishna. So, our Tosidas ji has said, Chajo pita pralada vibhishana bando parat mahatari Guru bali chajo kanta prajabanita vaya jagamangalakari. Someone may say, I cannot give up my service to my father. But Chajo pita Prahlad Maharaj did not serve his father, Hiranyakashipu. Chajo pita Prahlad Vibhishana. One may say, I have to serve my brother, Vibhishana Bharta. Vibhishan did not serve his brother, Ravan. He was not a devotee. He gave up the service of his brother, elder brother, though that he should not, from the worldly perspective, but he did. Chajo Pita Pralaja Vivitana Bharata Bharat Mahatari. A son should serve his mother. But Bharat, he gave up the service of Kaikeyi. He said, I will never even call her mother for the rest of my life. So Bharat gave up Kaikeyi because Kaikeyi, by her demands asking for benediction, Lord Ram was banished to the forest. So Chajo Pita Pralada Vibhishana Bando Paramahatari Guru Bal Chajo. One should not give up Guru. All the Shastra says, never give up Guru. But Guru Bali Chajo. Bali Maharaj gave up his Guru, Shukra Acharya. Shukracharya said, don't make any promises to this Vaman, this dwarf Brahmin. It's Vishnu in disguise, he'll take everything from you. Don't give him anything. Bali Maharaj said, if he's Vishnu, then he already owns everything. And I should offer everything to him, even myself. So Bali Maharaj rejected his Guru even because his Guru became unfavorable and against Bhakti. Against the path of pure Bhakti. Kanta Brajabanita. A woman should not give up the service of her husband. But Kanta Brajabanita, all the gopis, they all Pati Sutan Vaya Bratri Bandhava. They gave up all their husbands and family members. So Kanta Brajabanita, Vaya Jagamangalakari. All these persons gave up all their duties and responsibilities to serve Krishna, and it was not inauspicious, it was not problematic, it was auspicious for the whole universe. So Narad Muni said, why did you tell about karma and why did you tell about Dhyan? So then Narad Rishi began to criticize the path of Dhyan. What did he say? You are the leaders and pandits here. Naiskarmyam apyachuta bhava vajitam na shobate jnanam alam niranjanam kutaha puna shashwata bhaddamishre na charpitam karma yadapyakaranam. Very important verse. In the first canto and at the end, in the 12th, beginning and end. Upakram upasanha. At the beginning and the end of the Bhagavatam, you will find this. So, it means, Naiskaramyam apyachuta bhava vajitam. If a person has become purified of all material contamination, niranjan, and they have jnana, knowledge, which is naiskarmya, completely free from any fruitive intentions, na shobhate jnanam, their knowledge is not auspicious, it is not so beautiful. Why is their knowledge not beautiful? It is not beautiful if achyuta bhava vajitam, it is devoid of bhav, feelings of love for achyuta Krishna. Achyuta. Krishna is achyuta, he never fails. He never fails to completely splash your material life. So he's Achyuta. He never fails to make you cry forever. So his name is Achyuta. He never fails to save his devotee and give them the service of his lotus. So many meanings of Achyuta. But if you don't have love for Krishna, then all your knowledge, even if it's free from fruitive intentions, then it is not beautiful, it is not auspicious. So alam niranjanam. That means enough with all of this purification. What was the point of becoming purified if in the end you didn't love Krishna? So if jnana is not auspicious, then kuta puna shashwada badramishwarena chapitam karma yadapya karnam. If knowledge of the Brahman and the state of liberation is not auspicious without love for Krishna, then what can we say about karmas in this world? Which are painful to perform in the beginning, the middle and the end. Just pain. That is sakam. If you're doing sakam karma, working to fulfill some desire. And even yadapya karanam, what if you do nishkam karma? If you're working without any attachment to the results, you get jnana from that. But if that is not offered to Krishna, that is also inauspicious. Na chapitam karma yadapya karanam. You are doing the karma apya karanam without any this? This is honey. And today is the first day of Chaturmasya. So, can take honey for 4 months now. Okay, there's no honey in it? So, then, after Narad Rishi had criticized the path of karma, and then he criticized the path of jnana, he also criticized the path of yoga. Yamadi bi yoga patai kama loba hatomahu mukunda seva yadvat tadat manam na shamyati. Oh, I'm putting it because it's on the subject. This verse will come in the next chapter. Everyone's on their phone trying to find the verse. Yamadi bi yoga patai kama loba hatomahu. It is true that by practicing Yamadivi, that means that yoga has 8 stages, beginning with Yam. Yam, they are the prohibitions. Then Niyam, the observances. There are 5 prohibitions in yoga, then 5 observances, Yam, Niyam. Then there is the asana, sitting postures, pranayama, breathing, pratyahara, withdrawing the senses, dharana, concentration, dhyan, meditation and samadhi. These are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. So Yamadivi Yoga Patai Kama Loba Hatomahu. It's true that by practicing Ashtanga Yoga, you can become free from the disturbances of lust and greed. But Mukunda Seva Yadvat Tadatmanam Na Shamyati. Unless and until you engage in the service of Mukunda Shri Krishna, you will not attain Shamyan. Na Shamyati. The first 4 angas of Ashtanga Yoga are called Hatha Yoga. And they're mechanical, physical. Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pratyahara, Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, and then Pratyahara comes, the 5th one. The last 3, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi, are called Shamyam in the Yoga Sutras. because they are the process by which one enters first into Sampragyata Samadhi, Samadhi with an object, and then Asampragyata Samadhi, Samadhi without an object. So this is called Samyam, and the yogis are aiming to attain this Samyam. Dharan Dhyan Samadhi. But Narad Muni is saying that you can get free from the gross disturbances of lust and greed, but Mukunda Seva Yadvat Atmada Na Shamyati. You will not attain Samyam, the perfection of Samadhi without bhakti to Krishna. So Patanjali said, Samadhi Siddhi Ishvara Pranidhanat. The perfection of Samadhi comes from surrender to God. Jai Sisi Radhavindra Ji ki Jai, Sisi Gauri ki Jai. So in this way, Narad Rishi has glorified bhakti and he has criticized all the other paths. Narad Rishi told Vyasadeva, Manye tad darshanam kalam, your darshan, your philosophy, Vedanta, is not sufficient. But my presentation, the Pancharatra, that is only bhakti to Krishna, is successful. So Narad began to explain to Vyasadeva about how he attained success in this path of the Pancharatra. Narad Rishi said, in my previous life, I was a Dasiputra, the son of a Shudra woman, a maid. And once during Chaturmasya, 4 months of Chaturmasya, starting from, some people start from the Ekadasi, Shayana Ekadasi up to Uttan Ekadasi. And we are following my Gurudev, Param Gurudev Bhaktisthana Thakur, from the Purnima to the Purnima at the end of Kartik. Chaturmasya, 4 months. So, during that time, some sages came and stayed in the house where my mother was serving. Those sages, great sages, they were actually the 4 Kumaras. So at that time, I got the chance to serve them. When it was time for prasadam, I would put out their plates, I would clean afterwards. And when they were sitting and talking together, Harikatha, then I was listening. And by listening to their words, I experienced a great transformation. By hearing their words, I began to realize that out of ignorance, I was identifying and thinking this body was myself. I asked them, can I take your remnant? And very mercifully they gave some of their remnant Mahaprasad. And when I tasted their remnant Mahaprasad, then suddenly a very strong ruchi, a taste for Harikatha appeared in my heart. I was listening to them every day and relishing so much. And when the 4 months came to an end, they were about to leave. Then, I was just a boy at the time. And I'd become so attached to them. When they were leaving, I was crying. So they said to me, oh, don't cry, don't cry. Go and take bath in the river and come back. So then I went and took bath in the river and came. And then they spoke mantra in my ear. What mantra? No. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Prajumnaya Niruddhaya Namo Sankashanaya Cha. This mantra. They gave me this mantra and they taught me how to meditate on the mantra and the regulations regarding it, the practice. And then they went. Srila Vyasadeva said, "Oh Gurudev, what happened after they left?" Narad Rishi said, next chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Narad Rishi said, after they went, I had no attachment at all to this world. But my mother was very attached to me. But one day she went for a walk and a snake came and bit her and she died. So now all my obstacles had been removed. And I left my home and I began wandering here and there through mountains and forests. And finally I came to a holy place, a pure place. I took bath there and sat down, and I began to remember the mantra given by my Gurudev. So, Narad Rishi said, I gradually became absorbed in that mantra, and then mantra revealed himself. Iti murtyabhidanena mantra murtim amurtikam yajase yagya purusham sa samyag dashana puman. Iti murtyabhidanena. There is a murti, beautiful swarup of Sri Krishna. Mantra murtikam. Mantra murtim amurtikam. And that mantra that they gave to me was actually a murti of Krishna. Mantra murtim amurtikam. And though this mantra itself, I realized it has a beautiful form. But that murti is amurti. Here, that form of the mantra is amurti, that means not a material form. Or it can mean, the word murti also means katur, hard. So the murti of the mantra, the form of Krishna, that manifests when I remembered my mantra, was amurtikam, not hard, but very soft and sweet. Soft, sweet, fragrant, beautiful, shining, charming. So yajate yajyu purusham sa samyak darshana pumam. That person who worships the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, in His beautiful form, manifest from mantra, his darshan, his vision, his philosophy, is sa samyak darshana pumam, is samyak, complete. Now, you can look at the various verses that come in order in Srimad Bhagavatam. First, Vyasadeva said, Snatasna nyunam alam vichaksha. Oh Gurudev, I feel nyuna, something insufficient, I'm lacking. And then Narad told him, yes, manye tat darshanam kilam. I think that your darshan is kila, insufficient. Something is lacking in it. But then when he spoke about his own experience, worshipping the Supreme Lord by the devotional process of the Pancharatra process with mantra, then Narad Muni said, Sa samyak darshana puman, that person, his darshan is not kila, insufficient, his darshan is samyak, complete. He is a complete understanding. Why? Because Supreme Lord is pleased, He is satisfied by it. So Narad Rishi said, I saw the beautiful form of the Lord in my heart, and I was in so much ecstasy. My hairs were standing on end, tears were flowing from my eyes, and in ananda, I fainted. And when I fainted, then the form of the Lord disappeared. So when I came back to external consciousness, I was crying and feeling a great shock, having lost the vision of Sri Krishna. And then, mercifully, Sri Krishna spoke to me. Just a voice in the Akash. He didn't see anything, just heard the voice. Krishna said, you will not see me again in this life. Those persons who are ku-yogis, who are not fully purified, they cannot see me at all. That means that, yes, you are purified because you have seen me. But the general yogis, they cannot. Those who have become fully purified by bhakti. So then, he said, you should go on. You will not be overcome by illusion. You should go on remembering your mantra. And you will attain a spiritual body. And you will come to me. By following this path of bhakti, one becomes purified from all material desires. So Narad actually, in that life, at that point, he had no material desires, but the Supreme Lord said that to make him become humble. More humble. Now, he had attained praying, but his praying was not mature. And this is why the Supreme Lord appeared to him and then disappeared and said, you won't see me again in this life. Supreme Lord said to him, I have appeared and disappeared just to increase your eagerness. So now his praying, due to separation, would become very, very intense, and his praying would become very mature. So then after that, Narad said, I wandered here and there, from place to place, singing the glories of the Supreme Lord. And gradually, Jai Sisi Radhavandaju Ki Jai. Gradually, the time came, the last moment of my life. And just as sometimes in the sky, 2 flashes of lightning come at once, at the same time. So 2 things happened at once. Prayujamane mahitam shuddham bhagavatim tanum arabdha karma nirvano nyapatat panchabhautikaha. Simultaneously, 2 things happened. Arabdha karma nirvano, my body, in which the prarabdha karma had already been destroyed. Some persons translate in this way, that the prarabdha karma of my body was finished, and at the same time I attained the spiritual body. But this is not the meaning. Why? Because then it would say arabdha karma nirvane, but it doesn't. It says arabdha karma nirvano nyapatat panchabhotika. You see, prarabdha karma is destroyed in the stage of sadhana, and he was already in prema. So he did sadhana, he got bhav, then he got prema. So there's no question of at the last moment of his life his prarabdha karma being finished. So it doesn't mean at the time of the prarabdha karma being finished. It means at that time he gave up his body, in which the prarabdha karma was already finished in the stage of sadhana. Because Rupa Goswami has said, Yad Brahma Sakshat Kriti Nistayapi Vinashamaeti Nabhogai Upeti Namas Puranena Tate Prarabdha Karmeti Viroti Veda. If someone is meditating, fully absorbed in Brahman, they can be liberated from their kult, beach, and their aparabdha karma. But they cannot be freed from their prarabdha karma, the karma which is related to this body in this life. They cannot get free from it. But they will have to taste that karma, even if they're absorbed in Brahman. But Vinana Bogai Prarabdha Karmeti Viroti Veda, all the Vedas are Viroti. Viroti means shouting, and Viroti means roaring. All the Vedas are roaring. You may be absorbed in Brahman, but you still have to undergo Prarabdha Karma. But Puranena Tate Prarabdha Karmeti Viroti Veda. As soon as the pure name appears on a person's tongue, click. Not even Krishna, only click. As soon as the pure name appears on a person's tongue, his Prarabdha Karma is finished there and then. So Arabdha Karma Nirvano, that body in which the Prabhupada had already been finished before when he was chanting the pure name. He gave up that body and Shuddham Bhagavatim Tanum. He attained Prayujamane. His soul was united with a Shuddha, a pure transcendental body as an associate of the Supreme Lord. Now he had this beautiful transcendental body. And when the end of Brahma's day came, because Vyasadeva said, I know that you are the son of Brahma, but you just told me you are the son of this maidservant, so how can we reconcile these two things? Narad Rishi said, at the end of Brahma's day, then all the living beings enter into Brahma and Brahma enters into Narayan. And then when Narayan creates again, Brahma comes out, and they said, then when it was time for Brahma to manifest the universe, I was manifest from the lap of Brahma. Because the lap is the place of love. So he came from the lap of Brahma, but in his eternal spiritual body is Narad, playing on his veena. So in this way, Narad Rishi explained to Srila Vyasadeva, Eitad dhatur chittanam matraspase chayamuhu plavo sindhu baba sindhu plavo krito hari na hari varnanu varnanam hari charyanu varnanam. Narad Rishi said, it is my personal experience that the living entities who are constantly suffering in this material world because their senses are always thirsty and eager to touch the sense objects, they can all be freed from by continuously hearing and chanting and remembering the descriptions of the pastimes of Sri Krishna. So Narad said, this is my experience, this vision is complete and perfect. So Narad said to Vyasadeva, now Vyasadeva, have you described the pastimes of Krishna? Have you described them? Vyasadeva said, well, that's something. Narad said, have you described Gopi Biyasto Bito Nikta Bhagavan Balavat Kochit Udgayati Kotin Mugdas Tadvaso Daroyantravat? How? The all-pervading, all-powerful, all-knowing Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of all incarnations, from whom Nashingadev, Varahadev, Lord Ram, everyone has come. In Vrindavan, he is like a little baby. And the Brijbasis are coming and saying, oh, if you do a dance, I'll give you a laddu. And he's dancing. He becomes like a puppet in the Tadvaso Daruyantravat. Have you written how that Supreme Controller is like a little baby and a puppet in the hands of the elderly gopis of Vrindavan? Drishpa Parashmam Krishna Kripaya Sutsabandhane. Hey, Vyasadeva, have you written how though Krishna the Supreme Lord gives mukti, liberation to everyone, but his mother, seeing that he'd been a naughty boy and smashed the pot of yogurt, took a rope and bound him and he could not get out? Have you written it? Vyasadeva said, no, Gurudeva, I have not written it. Then what have you written? Have you written? Have you written that as Krishna grows older, he's playing with the cowherd boys? And they're wrestling with each other. And Sridham wrestles Krishna to the ground and holds him down and jumps up and said, I am the winner, I am the winner. But then Krishna jumps up and said, I am the winner, I am the winner. And all the boys are, oh Krishna, you have been defeated. Why are you saying you're the winner? Krishna said, because my nose was up and his nose was facing down. Sridham said, no, you are bogus, I have won. Krishna said, no, I have won. And he picked up some dust of Braj and threw it at Sridham. Then Sridham picked up some dust, and before you know it, all the coward boys, they were throwing dust everywhere. There was a dust fight. In the distance, one powerful rishi, Durvasa Rishi, you know, Durvasa is very stern. Very, very stern. When people see him coming, I hope he didn't see me and try to escape. in case he will curse them. The Rasa Rishi was walking through the forest in Gokul and he saw the boys throwing dust on each other, play fighting. And the Rasa saw, there is Krishna, Parabrahma, Vadanti tat tat bhagavidas tattvam yad jnanamadvayam vinondu, supreme absolute truth. What is he doing? Throwing dust. And his friends are throwing dust at him, playing. So beautiful, so beautiful. And the Rasa Rishi just sat down. He was stunned seeing the beauty of Krishna. So then Sri Ram said, "Oh Kanhaiya, that Rishi, he saw everything. He should decide who won, whether I won or whether you won." So then the two boys came marching over to the big Rishi with his long beard and jata. Krishna said, "Oh Baba, tell him I am the winner." Sri Ram said, "Oh Baba, tell him I am the winner." Seeing the beauty of Krishna and his friends, tears of love were flowing from the eyes of the Rasa Rishi. He could not say who was the winner because his voice was gad, choked with ecstasy. He could not speak. So then Krishna jumped in the lap of the Rasa Rishi this side, and Sri Ram jumped in the lap this side. Krishna grabbed him by the beard and pulled his beard. "Hey Baba, tell him I am the winner." Sri Ram grabbed the other side of his beard and pulled. "Oh Baba, tell him I am the winner." The rest was winner. "I am the winner, I am the winner." They're pulling his beard. Krishna said, "Baba, are you dumb?" Sri Ram said, "Baba, are you deaf? Don't you hear us?" But he was just in samadhi on the beauty of Krishna. So then the two boys got up. "Oh, this Baba is useless. Let's go and play something." And then all the boys ran away to play in the forest. So Shukadev Goswami said, "Itham satam brahma sukhanabhute dasyam gathanam paradarakena paradevatena maya sritanam naradarakena sadam vijaru krita punya punja." Shukadev Goswami said, in this way, those who worship Brahman, the rishis, they know that Krishna is the foundation. Brahmano hi pratistaham amritasrava yasatya. Krishna is the foundation of Brahman. That's how they see Krishna. Dasyanam, the servants of those who have a mood of service to Krishna, they see him paradevatena, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maya sritanam naradarakena. People are in Maya, they think, "Oh, Krishna, maybe he's just some historical person or he's just a human being." But sadam vijaru krita punya punja. None of these persons can realize the nectar of how Sri Krishna is playing with these boys in the forest of Vrindavan. These boys are Krita Punya Punja. They must have accumulated mountains and mountains of punya, piety, that they're his friends. They don't know he's God. He doesn't know that he's God. They're just sinking in the ocean of Madhurya Prem Seva to Krishna, playing with him as equals. So remembering the beauty of the coward boy's love for Krishna, Shukadev Goswami spoke these words after he heard them from Vyasadeva. But at this point, Vyasadeva hadn't written any such thing. So Narad Muni was describing these pastimes to Vyasadeva. He said, "Oh Vyas, have you written this?" Vyasadeva said, "Oh Gurudev." Vyasadeva said, Narad Muni said, "No Vyas, what have you written?" "Have you written that Sri Krishna, with tears in his eyes, he's bowing down to Radhika and Braj Gopis and telling, Na pariyam niravadya samyujam swasadu krityam vibudayusha piba ya ma bhajan durjaya geya sankala samrisha tadva pratiyatu savuna." Oh my dear Gopis, even if I become your servant for millions of years, the life of Lord Brahma, I am unable to repay you for even one of the loving services that you have rendered to me. you have given up all the shackles of household life and dharma, which are very difficult to overcome, and just to please me, I cannot reciprocate with you. So therefore, may you be compensated only by your own liberal, good, great qualities. Your sadhutta. You are really sadhus. You are really open-hearted. What is the reward for loving service? The love itself. There's no reward greater than having such love. So let your own wonderful qualities be your compensation, because I am unable to reciprocate with you. Narad Rishi said, Vyasadeva, have you written this? Vyasadeva said, oh Gurudev, no, I have not. So then Narad said, yes, you should write all of these things. But I have not realized them. Narad Muni said, go into trance. Go into trance. So then, receiving this order from Narad, then Narad, he went away, and Vyasadeva sat and began to meditate on that same mantra that Narad had told him. He began to meditate, and Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranihitai Malay Apasyam Purashat Purnam Mayam Chatar Pasrayam. In his trance, Vyasadeva saw all the pastimes of Krishna from his birth. How he was born in Gokul, and at the same time he appeared as Vasudeva Krishna in Mathura, and how Vasudeva Maharaj carried him across, and that Vasudeva Krishna entered in, merged with Yashodanandan Krishna in Gokul. How Krishna was stealing butter and bound by his mother. How he killed Putana, Trinavarta, Shakatasur. How he danced on the head of Kalia. How he lifted Giraj Govardhan. How he danced with the gopis in Rasalila. All the pastimes. How Akrura came and took Krishna to Mathura. And Krishna killed Kamsa Maharaj. Later all the Dwarka Lila. Everything was flowing spontaneously in the heart of Vyasadeva. And then Vyasadeva had what he realized in his samadhi, he dictated to Ganesh, and it became Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. So anartho pasamam sakshat bhakti yoga madokshade lokasya janato vidvans chakre satvata sanhitam. Vyasadeva realized that all the jivas are floating in Maya, but simply by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, they can be transferred from Maya to Goloka Vrindavan. So Srila Vyasadeva has manifested in this world the king of all scriptures, the Sri Krishna's Vanmayi Murti, sound incarnation, Srimad Bhagavatam, full of Bhakti Rasa, which is the shelter of everyone. Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhu Sarva Asray. As Krishna is the shelter of all existence, Srimad Bhagavatam is the shelter of all existence. Are you taking shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam? Then where will you find shelter? There are two Bhagavatams, Shastra Bhagavat and Bhakta Bhagavat. We need the service and shelter of both. So, on this day, we are worshipping Srila Vyasadeva for his great contribution of manifesting the Krishna Bhakti's Rasa Swarup, Sri Bhagavat Sarvagirida Shastohaite Paramahatva, the greatest of all Vedic literatures and our shelter, Srimad Bhagavatam. Simply by hearing this, Sajjori Dhyavarudate Yataktibi Susrusavis Tapchanat. If a person has become refined by the process of Diksha under the guidance of their Acharya, they become Kriti. Then, as soon as they hear, the very moment they hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna appears in their heart and becomes bound by the ropes of prema and can never leave them. This is the Bhagavad. So in this way, I offer my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of Srila Vyasadeva, and to all of our Guru Parampara who are Srila Vyasadeva amongst us today, who come amongst us representing him and giving that same transcendental knowledge. There are many profound teachings in the life of Srila Vyasadeva, but now we've run out of time. So those teachings, very profound teachings in what we have discussed this morning, we'll elaborate upon in the evening lecture. Srila Vyasadeva ki jai, Shri Guru Purnima ki jai, Shri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga ki jai, Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jai Gaura Premanande. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Krishna Vishnu Bhakti Vedanta Swami